All right, hi everyone. It's Peter and Andrew here from the Roblox Creator Analytics team. So we launched something really cool recently, the ability for you to track your economy and funnel events to grow your game and your experience faster. Now, this is a pre-recorded video, but we're around during live Q&A to answer any questions that you have. All right, so what are economy and funnel events? Well, economy events help you track how users gain and spend resources and currency in your game so that you can improve your monetization. And funnel events help you understand where users are dropping off during your onboarding flow, during your shop funnel, and so on and so forth. So why is it so important to track these events? Well, let me give you an example. To get discovered on Roblox, it's really important to keep users around so that they have fun and also so that they want to come back to your game. But how do you know how to do that? Well, if you track your onboarding funnel, then in this example, you might see that there's a huge drop-off in step 2, in the plant seed step. So if you have this information, then you might go into your game and you might make it easier for your players to plant seed by adding some breadcrumbs or adding some pointers for them to do so. And if you fix this problem with your onboarding funnel, then you're likely to see your day one retention increase, you're likely to see your session time increase, and these metrics directly impact how likely you are to get discovered on our platform. So by improving onboarding, you're also improving your KPIs, and chances are you're going to help your game get discovered on Roblox. All right, so now let me talk about basically 3 reasons why we think this is really awesome for you guys to instrument right now. All right, the first reason is it will help you find opportunities to grow faster, like I mentioned. Second, you can segment all this economy and funnel data by age, gender, platform, OS, and 3 custom fields. And some of these fields like age and gender, you can't really find anywhere else. You can only find, on Roblox Creator Analytics Suite. And finally, you can track these events with just a few simple lines of code, and it's all free. All right, so that's my spiel. Now, Andrew will walk you through how our product works and show you how to get started.
Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk about our new economy events. I'm going to walk you through both how to instrument economy and funnel events, and then also talk about some of the complexities of the APIs themselves and how to read the charts a little bit. So we'll start with economy events. And before I get into this, I really want to just highlight some of the key concepts you're going to need to know. So most games are going to have some sort of currency. Roblox has Robux at the platform level. Inside of your experience, you're going to have something like gold, gems, maybe even XP or skill points, depending on your game. Go a level deeper, and we've got the concept of sources and sinks. Sources are really any time you're providing currency to a player, and sinks are any time you're taking currency away from a player. So the classic example of a sink is a store where a user can purchase an item. Down here, I've got transaction types. Now, here we have a few cases where we've got some examples that we recommend you use. The reason we recommend this is that we'll be able to run analysis and provide you deeper insights into your experiences, but you should feel free to use your own if these don't fit your game or experience. All right, jumping down, we're going to look at some chart types. The first here is average wallet balance. The first here is total sources and sinks by category. This is going to be the 10,000-foot view of your economy. So as you can see, above the line is going to be all of your sources, and below the line is all of your sinks. Typically, what you're going to want to see is something that's pretty stable and close to that 0 line. If your economy is constantly growing, you've got sources outweighing your sinks, that means you don't have enough places for users to spend their gold or whatever the currency you're looking at is. The next chart we're going to check out is average wallet balance. This one is similar, but it's more player focused. So here you're always going to have some threshold that you're above. And the key that you're looking for here is really just keeping it somewhat stable. Similar to the last chart, if you're seeing huge spikes, that just means that you don't have enough sinks. And similarly, if you're always at 0, you probably need to give your players a little more of that currency type. All right, the last chart I'm going to talk about right now is the all sources in syncs table. I really look at this as sort of a sales chart, especially if you use the filters. You can drop down to, say, a single shop or a single transaction type and really look at which items players are purchasing the most. Now I'd like to jump into Studio, and we're going to instrument a couple of these. So let's set up a player here. We're just going to put nil in for the player. We're not going to have a real player at the moment. Set up our analytics service. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to do is instrument the most basic economy event. This is going to be your gameplay event, something like a user finishes a level, we grant them 100 gold. And this is pretty much exactly what's in the docs, so it should look pretty familiar if you've looked at those at all. So we use the analytics service. We're going to log economy event, pass the player in. Here is the flow type I described earlier. So this is a source. Next, we're going to look at the currency type. We're just going to make one up. We're going to say gold for now. The amount, say 100 gold. This is going to be the user's first economy event. So they went from a 0 balance to a 100 balance. So we'll put 100 in there. Then the transaction type. Yep. This is a gameplay reward. Now the one interesting thing here, normally with enums, you just pass the enum itself. But because this field takes a string, you can pass a custom string if you want. We need to use the enum's name. So that's something to kind of watch out for. And you should get a type warning if you don't do that. All right. So that's all we've got for now. Pretty easy to set up. And you always want to set these up after you've done the transaction. Make sure that transaction is saved before you send the event. Let's set up one more. Let's do a timed reward example. So in this case, let's imagine in our game, every day when a user comes back, we give them a reward, and then after 7 days, we're going to give them, say, a hard currency reward. So in this case, we're going to do the same thing, log economy event, pass that player in again. This is another source. And we'll make this one gems. That's going to be our hard currency. So let's say after their 7 days, we're going to give them 10 gems. Maybe they already had 10, so their ending balance will be 20 in this case. And then transaction type, this is going to be a timed reward. Okay, so you can see these are two different event types, but you might think, well, for gameplay, I want to know how much gold are people earning based on what level they're finishing. So let's go back and add a custom field to that. So the next field is item SKU. Source events usually don't have items associated with them because we're just granting currency. So we're going to pass a nil in there. And then we're going to make a custom field. So we're going to use the enum again. We're going to use the analytics custom field keys, custom field 1. Similarly, this is going to be the name. And we're going to call this one level-1. I like to put the level in here. You don't have to, or really it's the sort of category name. But I think it helps keep your filters a little more obvious down the road. Cool, let's do one more example here. Let's do a sync. So in this case, let's say we've got a shop and the user is going to buy an item in our shop. So we're going to log economy event. This is going to sound familiar. Flow type, here we're going to do a sync. Let's say this one's going to be that gold we provided earlier. And we'll have it cost 50 gold. This user had 100. So after they spend that 50, they'll have 50 left. Let's do transaction type shop. And then here we need the item SKU. Let's say the item SKU is Mjolnir, the famous hammer. Okay, so we've got that set up. Similarly to how we added the custom field for the source event, let's add some custom fields for our shop. And this is going to help us when we look at that item sales table that I showed earlier. This will help us filter down to specific shops or specific item types. All right, so a lot of boilerplate. All right, so let's do the shop. We're going to call this Bjorn's Bargains. Custom field 2. This will be item type. Will be weapon. And for our last custom field, we're going to have weapon type hammer. All right, so that's a pretty basic example, but shows you how to use custom fields. Whoops, I forgot the names on these ones. Let me add those in. And you can use up to 3 custom fields for your economy events. And next, we'll talk about funnels. All right, so that was a quick walkthrough of economy events. Next, we're going to talk about funnel events. There's really 2 types of funnels. There's one-time funnels. Those are going to be things like onboarding or maybe game progression. So you can think of your first-time user experience. You maybe have a few steps that you want all players to go through. You can track each of those steps, and then our funnel charts will show you where people drop off, and you can try to optimize those pieces. Recurring funnels are more about things that happen many times. So you can think of shop checkout or item upgrades. So shop checkouts are flows that might happen multiple times in a single session. Shop or item upgrades are things that might happen over a longer period of time across many sessions. So let's jump into Studio, and we're just going to do a single type here. So we're going to do a quick item upgrade example. We'll do log funnel event step, player, funnel name, we'll call it item upgrade. Funnel session ID. So funnel session ID is a concept that's only used for recurring funnels. The idea is that if a player does a funnel multiple times, we need a way to track each instance of that funnel session. So in this case, per item, they're only going to do this funnel session one time. Funnel session one time. So in this case, we can do player name. Actually, let's use the user ID. And then we'll use the item name. We'll use the item that we granted them previously, Mjolnir. Then we need the step number. This will be the first upgrade. Step name, item upgrade 1. And then you can pass any custom fields in. So let's actually pass a custom field in. These are going to be different custom fields than we used for our economy events, but they work exactly the same. So in this case, let's use the same weapon type. We're going to put it in field 1. Custom weapon type is hammer. And then if we had a second upgrade, we would do basically the same thing, but step number 2, item upgrade 2. I do want to talk through a few of the more complicated pieces of funnels, some of the intricacies. So I'm going to walk through the docs and just kind of give brief overviews of these different pieces. So the way the initial step works, we track the first step when you first send a funnel step. So a common question we've gotten is, does Roblox track the funnel step on player join? And we don't. You have to send the first step. If you want to do it on join, you can do it on a player connect event. Repeated steps, this is another common question we get. If you send the same step more than once, we'll collapse those into a single step. So you don't really have to worry about accidentally sending it more than once. Skipping steps, if you jump from step 1 to step 5, we're going to assume steps 2, 3, 4 were all completed as well. With funnel filters, the way it works is filters will only apply to the field sent on the very first step. So if you change your custom fields over time, we're only going to respect the ones that were sent on that first step. Protecting funnels from exploiters, this is another thing that we've seen a fair amount. Something you're going to want to do is in your server-side code, do some basic validation on your events before you send them to us. Because if you're firing an event from the client and then your server is responding to that fired event, if you don't have any protection there and exploiters are sending these events manually, you could end up with some bad data in your charts, and it's kind of a pain to ignore. I do want to give a little advice on funnels. You might say, well, I don't have a tutorial yet. I don't know what kind of onboarding funnel I should set up. In that case, really break it down into what is your core loop, or what is the things you want somebody to do in your game first. Even if you don't have a nice tutorial, just instrument those basic steps, and that will actually help you see where your drop-off is and understand where in your onboarding players are confused. And when you do build a tutorial, you can use that to inform where to spend more of your time in the tutorial. We had one of our beta testers share with us their funnels and allow us to use them on this stream. So I wanted to show, this is for the game Fabled Legacy, shout out Sir Pixel. This is their onboarding funnel. So you can see this is a dungeon crawler. They've got join game, selected class, loaded into dungeon, dungeon started, and then fighting through the various dungeon rooms. So this is a great example of an onboarding flow. You can see that almost all the users select class, load into dungeon, and then you've got right here, room 2, there's a 21% drop off. We've talked to Sir Pixel, and they've talked about how this one level is really where the difficulty ramps up. So this is something where maybe you want this to happen and this is a reasonable place for the drop off, or maybe you want to change the difficulty or give players a bigger power up after room 1. It's really up to you how you attack these things and where you want some of the churn to be. But yeah, this is a way to read it. The one other interesting thing you can do here is we can look at different user groups and see if these are consistent across different player types. So we could look at, let's say, let's look at age ranges. If we look at 13 plus, we'll see what the drop off looks like here. Okay, so it actually dropped down to 21%. And then what if we look at 12 and under? 23%. So you can see that as age goes up, at least a little bit, the drop-off drops as well. So, sometimes with the younger audiences, having more visual instruction can be better than text instruction. But again, you're going to have to play with your own experiences and see what works for you. The last thing I wanted to talk about is our limits, because we've got a lot of questions about these. And let me find it. Okay, so for all these event types, we do have some limitations. We've got the pretty standard rate limits that you're going to find on data stores and other APIs. The big one that we get asked about is the item SKUs. Currently, we limit to 100 unique item SKUs, but technically it's unlimited. So the way it works, I know that's confusing, but the way it works is that any item SKUs you send, we will track. But after the top 100, we're going to start to group them into a category called other. So we'll still have the full economy balances, but you won't be able to see every single item. And that's pretty much all I've got. I do want to give some shout outs to our beta testers, specifically Sir Pixel, Sam Huckabee, Noble Draconian, Lord Henry Von Henry, Scripty, Luca DeBoy. These aren't everybody who helped out, but these people all gave us some great feedback, and everybody who was in the beta, I want to say a big thanks. I think the product ended up much better with your help. And yeah, happy hunting for analytics.